The federal government announced this week it's going to introduce a new loan program that will benefit Black-owned businesses in the country. The Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund will provide loans of up to $250,000 for Black entrepreneurs and existing for-profit small businesses. This support comes just 1 year after the social media blackout, the day on which businesses and individuals posted black squares on social media in the hopes of continuing conversations around anti-Black racism. So how are Black-owned businesses in Toronto doing 1 year after that social media blackout? Nanwa is here with another installment of his column Business Casual, looking at stories in the business and marketing world. Nav, good afternoon. First of all, tell me a bit more about really the significance of this loan announcement by the federal government.
Yeah, Jill, this loan that's really meant to allow Black Canadian business owners to grow their businesses and truly succeed in the future. And it's significant for many reasons because historically, Black-owned business owners have struggled getting the financial support that they need. I actually managed to speak to the Black Business and Professional Association, which is an organization that had a seat at the table when this loan was coming together. And the BBPA addresses equity and opportunity for the Black community in areas like business, employment, and economic development. And they had a lot to say regarding how all this came to fruition. After speaking to the executive director of the BBPA, Frances Delsol, she was able to outline these financial barriers even further.
It's always access. Access to funding and capital has been the worst. The financial institutions have been notorious in not giving and allowing Black businesses an opportunity to obtain funding so they can scale up and they can grow. It is a known fact that you walk into the bank and they see you before you even open your mouth. The decision has already been made.
Do you know how many Black-owned businesses are there here in the GTA?
It's actually really hard to find exact numbers. And the one thing I did find is that 37% of Toronto's population is Black. So knowing that a lot of these business owners come from racialized backgrounds, it is quite alarming to know that also, according to Stats Canada, businesses that are majority owned by visible minorities are less likely to have the ability to take on more debt. And this definitely rings true with Black-owned businesses. And further to my conversation with the BBPA, they actually commissioned a survey before the pandemic where they interviewed 120 Black-owned businesses across the country. And they found out that a large portion of these businesses couldn't access government subsidies as easy as non-Black businesses. And almost all of the ones that they spoke to fully admitted that they couldn't take on any debt to stay afloat. And as you mentioned off the top, today does mark the 1 year anniversary since the blackout on social media took place. And there were calls throughout that conversation to support local Black-owned businesses and to address some of these issues that they faced. But last year's racial injustice reckoning really brought to light the need for support. So you started to see grassroots platforms like Black-owned Toronto and BuyBlacks.com come to the frame and really support these businesses. And along with that came higher user engagement on their platforms as more and more people from the community want to do their part.
So what have you heard from local Black-owned businesses in terms of what the last year has meant to them?
So I spoke to a few businesses across the GTA to really get an understanding of how the last year's been for them. And one of the businesses I spoke to is Lucky's Chicken and Waffles. It's a restaurant located in Etobicoke on Lake Shore near 8th Street. They actually opened during the pandemic about a year ago when these conversations were really top of mind. And a year later, they feel fully supported and they feel like their business is growing. Tony Williams is the manager of Lucky's Chicken and Waffles, and I asked them how the support from the community has made a difference to his business.
100%. And it's entirely noticeable because people are coming in full of pride and saying, I'm here to support a Black-owned business. And it's not only from, I would say, the Black community, it's from everybody. It's from the entire, Toronto's a very multicultural city, and we just get a lot of different people from different cultures, and they say they're here to support a Black-owned business.
And Nav, over this past year, has that, support remained kind of consistent? I know a lot of people were mindful of this, especially, after George Floyd and big Black Lives Matter sort of reckoning conversations, but has it been consistent throughout the year?
That's actually a question that I asked Tamara Shelley, who's one of the founders of Classic Juice Company. It's located on Coxwell Avenue in the East End. Tamara's business was able to notice a lot of support a year ago when the conversations around supporting Black-owned businesses began to mobilize. But she also noticed that it wore off a little bit during the second lockdown, and she felt a lot of that came to just priorities shifting. But she also noticed some of this support die down a few months ago when a pivotal moment took place.
Also, when the George Floyd case came to a close, it's something that was weighing on our consciousness. It was constantly in the news. It's in the social media. And then now it's just there was this angst of oh my gosh, will they get off? And then it's no, they didn't. So you kind of celebrate and then you feel like something's been solved.
As you can hear in that clip, she did feel that some people felt maybe that their job was done once the Derek Chauvin murder verdict had come to fruition.
And of course there's a pandemic. I mean, through all of this, what role did the pandemic play, do you think, in all of this?
So, Joel, I went to Eglinton West, which is an area in Toronto known as Little Jamaica. The area has played a pivotal role in Toronto's Caribbean community since the 1960s. And there's an initiative right now by City Hall to determine if it should be a heritage conservation district. Now, the area is full of Black-owned businesses. I'm talking about restaurants, grocery stores, music shops, but also hair salons and barbershops, which have not been open because of the recent lockdowns. Those businesses play a major role in contributing to other businesses in that area, thus making any type of support effort very difficult. I spoke to Shane Kenny. He's one of the co-owners of the music shop TreaJah Isle, and he broke down the significance of the barbershops and the role they play in contributing to the surrounding businesses.
When you have the barbershops, you also do have the salons as well, right? And then from there, when people are at the barbershops or the salon, they get hungry. So they go support the restaurants. And then sometimes even there, if they're Jamaican, they might go to a Caribbean grocery store, to pick up their food for the weekend and stuff like that. Or you might have some people that they're at the barbershop that have to wait a bit. So they come into our store, get some music or get whatever they want.
And all of this is on top of some of the accessibility issues that the area has been seeing in the face of the current construction of the Eglinton LRT. So there's a lot happening right now in Little Jamaica.
So I guess just to bring it back to the loan, this federal government loan, certainly after the year that we've had, how's the Black business community in the GTA feeling about that?
So when I spoke to all of these businesses, they were all very much appreciative of the support that they've been able to get over the last year. But capital remains top of mind. All of the businesses I spoke to really feel that to truly survive and prosper, they need the financial support to make this happen. And that's where a loan like the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund really comes into play and being very beneficial. But there's also a need to ensure that these types of programs are able to address the unique challenges that every Black-owned business may face, because a challenge that a barbershop faces is completely different to the challenge that a juice shop would face. And according to the BBPA, the people reviewing these loan applications understand these businesses and their needs, which will hopefully address some of the systemic discrimination that this community has faced in the past. But despite the year that we had and a win that this program may be perceived as, Frances Delsol from the BBPA still believes that there's still more work that needs to be done to fully ensure success for the future.
I'm so eager to not speak about things through Black lens, but speak about it through a Canadian lens, an Ontario lens. I can't do that yet. Because we're not there. We're still on the ground floor, pressing the first button to get, and everybody else is on floor 36. And I'm still trying desperately to get the elevator to work to get me up there. So I can't stop talking about the needs and concerns. What do we need to do? We need to recognize that this system that has been built to exclude must be dismantled.
Nav, great to speak with you as always. Thanks. That's Nav Nanwa, Here and Now's business and marketing columnist with The Business Casual.